get some oxygen flowing through the brain. So Mr. Barry has a friend that wrote a book, kind of Slow Your Roll. And so I'm going to try and do a broadcast with him as well.
That would be cool.
I think it would be pretty cool.
I think that would be really cool. We all need that.
I know, right?
We do.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to Alabama Care. Today we have Mrs. Katie Dumais, the Director of Employment Services at United Ability, and we're going to be talking about National Disability Employment Awareness Month and the upcoming United Ability Hiring Expo. At this point, I'd like to hand it over. Mrs. Dumais, if you would introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Katie Dumais. I am the Director of Employment Services at United Ability, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for spending the time with us.
Yeah,
and give us a little bit of background about the National Disability Employment Awareness Month.
Yes, so it actually started before the ADA. It was implemented in the 40s, and it was a way for the legislators to encourage employers to hire individuals with disabilities.
So there were a significant portion of individuals with disabilities that were looking for employment, seeking gainful employment in the community, and this was kind of a way to show the bigger society that these individuals were looking for employment at that time.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and we've carried that forward for the last, you said it was started in the 40s, so 60s,
it was like
70s.
1946, I think.
That predates a lot of like the rehab acts of the
It
73s and the acts of the 90s and the ADA kind of stuff. So this is something that has been near and dear to individuals with disabilities for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, it was really interesting to me that it started before ADA or anything like that came out. So
I think that kind of speaks to the importance of being in society and producing, going to work, having meaningful relationships at work, and how core that is to individuals, every individual, and for individuals with disabilities to be a part of that and giving back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That preceded even like the school, stuff going on in the school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, work is important to anyone, whether they have a disability or not. You know, we all got up and went to work today, and we're providing for a family or ourselves. You know, it's our version of independence. So I don't think that matters if you have a disability or not.
I like what you said there, their version of independence. Sometimes it can be stressful, sometimes it's uncertain, but it's the challenge and then the final product of giving it to others. Like I created this or I contributed to this that really helps you get out of bed in the morning and gives you purpose there.
Yes.
And as long as you can find that purpose with that work, it leaves a really exciting life.
Yes.
And that doesn't always happen right at the beginning.
No.
Yeah, I've changed jobs so many times.
Yeah, same.
From the point that I was like a freshman in high school and they're like, what do you want to do the rest of your life, to where we are today?
Yeah.
I think I've had probably 10 different jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's okay. You know, we have clients all the time that they may start a job where we have helped them find a job, and then a year later they may contact us again and say, you know, I need more of a challenge, or I'm looking for something else, and we're there to help them find that other job, because that's normal. We're humans. We need change and challenge just like anyone else.
And some of that may be just communication within the organization and with your team. It can feel stressful, but it's like, hey, let's break this down a little bit. And the other part of that is, like you said, I'm not challenged by the work. I feel like I can be doing a little bit more stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you guys work with individuals with disabilities to help them through that process. If you would talk a little bit about the employment services available with United Ability.
Yeah, so we serve a little over 1,100 individuals a year in our employment services. We start in the high schools, and we do pre-employment classes with students. And then from there, we do a lot of work-based learning. We have work-based learning sites at Princeton Hospital. We do a summer program with students, and our goal is that once someone graduates high school, we want them to be able to go out into the workforce. So once they graduate, we hope that they will come through our supported employment, where we have staff who can help them apply for jobs and prepare for interviews. And then once they are placed onto a job, we can provide on-site job coaching for a minimum of 2 weeks or more if needed. And then, you know, we're there to help them maintain that job and help them learn those skills. Along with that, we want to make good relationships with the employers. So the employers are going to be more open to hiring someone with a disability. So even after we're not on site anymore, not job coaching anymore, we actually stay with our clients for the life of the job. So someone could be working for 20 years and we're still checking in with them and with the employer twice a month, to make sure that they are still happy and doing well. And if there's ever a time that they need support again, we would send someone else out to help job coach some more, get them back on track, or vice versa. Sometimes an employer may call us and say, hey, they're doing so well, we want to promote them. Can you come out and help them learn these new skills? Or, an employer is so impressed by some of our clients, we might be the first person they call when they have new openings, which is what we really want. We want to make those good relationships, so they call us first, so we can have that just pipeline of staff for them coming through.
Yeah, that nice little funnel. It's like, so I'm going to take a step back. So you start off in high school. So you start off pretty young with kind of training and prepping the individual. I think that's so important because your outlook and your expectations that you have for after high school will really start to lead your life. And a lot of individuals may think that it's not possible to get a job. Maybe some of their peers have put them down in some places. And to be able to break that mold and say, hey, you can do anything that you want. And to plant that seed early in those formative years, in those adolescent years, will pay dividends for 50, 60, 70 years, just that mentality. Yes. So you guys are introducing that type of mentality in that process early on, 14 years old, 15 years old there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really, I feel like for so long, individuals with disabilities, especially in high school, were told no, that they would never go to work or that they weren't able to do something. And we want to be the people that tell them, yes, you can work and you're expected to go to work. You know, we take it very seriously. We don't do this because it's a charity or it's the nice thing to do. We do it because work is important and everyone needs to go and find a meaningful career and have meaning in their life and provide for themselves. And like we said earlier, have their own version of independence.
Yeah, it's like all ships rise with the tide.
Yes.
So, everybody needs to go and be a contributing member of society.
Absolutely.
It benefits. And we've heard through the broadcasts that we do such success stories of having individuals in the workplace where it transforms from a place of kind of giving and getting to a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
But before we get into the employer side of that, as an individual, it would be like, I wish I had these services through my experience of employment and navigating that. I feel like it should be given for everybody to have somebody that has my back, that I can call, that will check in with me, maybe give me pointers and see things that I'm not seeing. So it's like a free guidance counselor for life.
It is.
An employment specialist there.
Right. I mean, I definitely could have used this service coming out of high school and going into college. I think all of us, I know I changed my major probably like 4 times. So I totally could have used a job coach at some points in my life. And, it's just an invaluable service that we're providing to our youth and to adults in this community, as well as to employers. It's a big deal. And we want to help them tap into this population of individuals who are widely untapped in the workforce.
How would you say from the employer side, their attitude of hiring individuals with disabilities has come along in the last 10 years?
I think it has improved dramatically. I think that, of course, diversity inclusion is a very big buzzword now with a lot of employers, but it's also a really big deal to us at United Ability that employers are investing in that. So, I think that it has definitely improved, but I do think that we still have work to do. And I think, I would encourage employers, if they are fearful or unsure of how to go about a situation or hiring someone with a disability, to reach out to us. We offer disability etiquette and awareness training to employers. We can come out and do it in person. We have a video we can send to them. We want them to be educated and empowered to know that there are so many benefits to hiring someone with a disability.
So what are some of those fears that you've encountered from employers that they're kind of standoffish?
Yeah, sometimes employers are just unsure. They're maybe feeding into some of the stereotypes that you might have. as someone with a disability, a lot of times they may be fearful that, well, if they're not able to do the job, like, am I going to get sued if I have to terminate them? Or, things like that. It's a lot of the stereotypes that you would think of. And so we're there to educate them. And someone with a disability can get fired from a job just like we can, but we want to be there to hopefully help them not get fired from that job. But, it happens. We're all people. And we want employers to be comfortable with any of the hard conversations that they may have to have.
Like those crucial conversations.
Yeah.
You have to have those. And we see right now big tech people laying off, quite a bit of their engineering, their mechanical, whatever that looks like. So the hiring and the firing is just part of employment in general, from the employee side and the employer side.
Yes.
I saw a stat the other day that said individuals with disabilities outperform their peers when they're at work.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that is?
Well, from my experience, the individuals that come through our program, they want to work and they want to join the workforce. And I feel like for so long they've been told no. They know they have so much more to overcome, and they go in giving it their all, and a lot of times they do run circles around their peers, and it also boosts morale in the company. When we've had employers who have said, like, wow, can you job coach the rest of our staff? Because like I said, we take it very seriously. If we see one of our clients kind of slacking off or not doing what they should, we're going to put them back on the right track. And some of our employment specialists can be very direct with a client if we need to be, and have those hard conversations with them. And it's not because we want to be mean or anything. We want them to be successful.
Yeah.
And a lot of times being successful means someone has to have that hard conversation with you.
A lot of times if you don't have that hard conversation, it compounds, it snowballs, and it becomes a bigger thing in the future.
Yeah, it's a disservice, just like us, if I was doing something wrong at work, I need someone to tell me because I need to fix it. So, we don't want to do that with them either.
A little bit of positive reinforcement there, positive construction.
Goes a long way.
Now, when we're talking about kind of individuals outperforming others and peers in the workforce, it makes me think of, if there's a stressful day at work and you have somebody that has had a disability from birth or from young, they're used to overcoming challenges and harder days than their peers, whether that's just access in their home or whether it's transportation, busing routes. They have to take on a lot more to become the members that their peers are having that are quite easier. So they're used to overcoming these harder challenges. And when it gets to a hard day at work, it's not as hard for them because they're used to overcoming these challenges. They're looking over and go, what are you guys talking about? This is a breeze.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody might be complaining about their feet hurting and, they're like, whatever. So, you're right. They have had to overcome so many other challenges, and so many people, being negative or thinking negative or feeding into the stereotypes that, they just want to prove everybody wrong. And I love seeing that competitive side of some of our clients. They come in and they're like, oh, you're going to tell me no? Watch this. I love that.
Yeah. And from the employer side, if I get into like a competition, I always know that I do like better work. Like I'm honed in.
Same.
Like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, bring it on. We're going to do this. But from the employer side too, it's, from the start, you would want to give the individual, if you're bringing on somebody, doesn't matter who they are, into a position, into the team, you want to give them all of the tools to do the best that they can and buy into the vision and the mission of the overall organization and company. So you would want to support them in any way possible to outperform their expectations, the team's expectations, and it'll be better for everybody. So you want to have those crucial conversations. What do you need? How can I help you? How can I support you in these types of things?
Right.
So from an employer perspective, I wouldn't shy away from the conversation. I would dive in.
Yeah.
And I heard that kind of one of the silver linings of this pandemic that we've had is employers went and looked for, individuals in the disability community, that the hiring for individuals with disabilities went up in the past few years.
It did. So our employment services here, it's been a really good 2 years for us.
Yeah.
We have gotten more individuals into jobs this past 2 years than any other year before in the history of our program, actually, which is amazing. And we want to do everything we can to keep that going. We don't want it to dip back down, and you're right. So many employers, they had to, we've all heard of the Great Resignation.
Yep.
So many employers have been hiring, and they've had to think creatively and think outside of the box. And we've had more employers reach out to us. We've done more trainings with employers, and so many employers have been a lot more open to talking with us and giving more people a chance.
I think employers are starting to see that the potential in the disability community and what what individuals can provide for those organizations. And long term, you said you don't want these to dip down.
Right.
And it really is, if somebody that United Ability helps get a position at an organization, whether that's local or national chain kind of thing, if they go and they do a great job, the employer's like, wow, never knew. We were going to go right back to United Ability, and we're going to see, do you have 10 more individuals that are willing to come up? And in that way, the individuals that you're sending out are kind of messengers for the overall program of employment services. Do you kind of coach them on that? Like, hey, you're going to go and you're going to have a great job, but also kind of say, like, these other employment services and my other friends are doing this?
We do some, we don't want to like put pressure on
anyone.
No,
it's a little bit of pressure there, but.
Yeah, we don't want to put pressure on anyone, but honestly, the service kind of speaks for itself. When someone's successful, and even when individuals, even if we place an individual in a job and we think it's going to be great and it doesn't turn out that way, that's still a positive experience with employers because they can also see how we handled that situation. And so typically they're always willing to give someone else a chance at that job. We would rarely lose a relationship, even if it didn't work out with one client, but it could with another. But usually, the service just speaks for itself. All of our employment specialists are very well trained, and they're passionate about their jobs, and they care about the people that we serve, and they care about the relationships as well. So, it's just, that service is just speaking for itself to employers, and employers talk to each other too. We've had so many employers who, I love that they have connected us with other employers that they have partnerships with or relationships with, which is a really big deal.
Kind of open that door referral process there.
Yes.
I think it's really important for both individuals and employers to not go into this saying this is an end all be all. This, if we hire this individual, that means they're going to be with us for 50 years, even if they're not a great fit. Same thing for an employee or an individual is, if I make this decision to work with this organization, it means I got to be there for 50 years. It's an ongoing process. And you guys help facilitate that for both the individual and the employer.
Absolutely. Yeah. If an individual were to call us and say, hey, I don't want to work here anymore, I want to look for another job, we would coach them in how to leave a job appropriately. We would probably encourage them to stay at that job until we found another job. We would help them put in an appropriate notice. That way we're not burning any bridges, and we would help them find a different job because, like we said, we love change, and sometimes you just want to go somewhere else and experience something different, and that's okay.
Yeah, I've had that many times in my life where it's like, okay, it's on to the next chapter. What are you going to do now? So tell us some success stories that individuals that have come through United Ability Employment Services.
So one that is very near and dear to my heart, I started at United Ability as an employment specialist. So I was actually a job coach here, and I have a client, or we had a client who's now on our extended services. We were able to find her a job at Jack's, and this particular individual, she had some pretty severe social anxiety, needed a lot of job coaching, and she got hired at Jack's as like a hostess. She was cleaning the tables in the front. But I actually job coached her for 3 months, like every shift, to ensure success. And
now, when you say are you there on location with her?
Yes, I was going to work with her. They loved her, but we had to train through some things and, work on those soft skills, as people call them, the social skills of when customers come in, you can't slam things down on the table or ask them for tips, things like that. So we worked through it, and this was in 2016, and she actually is still working there today. She has transferred to a different location that's closer to her home.
Yeah.
But, it's really amazing for me to see how far she has come. And this was someone who, in the high school, a lot of people doubted her. And when I remember hearing that they were like, oh, y'all got this client, she just couldn't do much in high school, and all of these things that were doubting her. And I just think it is so amazing that we told her, yes, you can, and we were there with her, we supported her, and she's still working today. And I just think it's amazing that she's happy and she's working and she loves her job and they love her. They gave her a chance, and it was a rocky start.
Yeah.
So, it was rocky at first, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it. But we made it through, and I'm just so proud of her that she's still working today. I mean, it really just, it's why we do what we do.
So in high school, she had a lot of her teachers or maybe some of her peers, administrators saying, this individual has been struggling a lot in class, has a lot of anxiety, can't get the work done. Good luck. They probably won't have gainful employment in the community after this.
Absolutely.
We're glad that you guys are taking her on. So we've tried and it doesn't work for us. And you guys stepped in and took a little bit different approach there. The expectations were different. And it sounds like kind of really holding her hand through the process.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important being there one-on-one, the modeling of it.
Yes.
You can read a book or you can watch a video. I'm a very kinesthetic learner. So if I'm going to learn something, I would like to see somebody do that and then I can model it, whether it's karate or whether ice hockey or something like that. I have to see that modeled and then go after that. So to be able to provide that service for her in that place of employment, because even if you were to teach her in her own kitchen, how to put stuff down. It's a different environment. It's more stressful in the workplace. So to do that in that environment, I think is really important.
It is. And a lot of times what we see is students in high schools who may have behavioral issues, or their teachers or instructors may be doubting them that they're going to be able to work. We see a completely different person in the workplace, because you're taking someone who's already struggling maybe academically. I might have behaviors too. If I was being told to do math all day and I'm terrible at math, I'd be acting out as well.
I hate writing.
Exactly.
I hate it.
So, we put them in a workplace where they can be successful and really thrive. We see such a difference. And so you have to be able to give them a chance no matter what behaviors that you've seen. Also, they're teenagers. Of course they're going to have behaviors.
Yeah. Everybody does. But I think that's a really big point there is, if you're interested and you want to work with math, in high school, you still have to go through all of the classes. You have to take Spanish or whatever that looks like, and all these writing. I hate creative writing. But in the employment side of it, you can focus on what they want to do and what they don't want to do and hone in on that.
Yes.
So it allows them to really connect with what they're comfortable with. And, I think an important part for any employment is saying, what do I not want to do and what am I not good at? And let's allow somebody else to do that, and let me focus on my strengths.
Yes.
So when you get outside of that education system, you're able to do that with employment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there another success story that really stands out to you?
Yeah. So another one, and it's a good example of how we have helped someone find a new job. So we actually have a client who works for Gone for Good, which is our document destruction company here at United Ability. He is actually a driver for Gone for Good. And previously he came through our services. We helped him find a job in a warehouse setting where he was doing more shipping and receiving type work. And he just wanted a change. He wanted something different with better hours. And so even after he closed, he contacted us, reached out and said he wanted a different job. And it just so happened that Abe, the director of enterprises here in Gone for Good, needed a driver. And I knew that this client could drive. And I was like, hey, would you be willing to give one of our clients a chance as a driver? And Abe jumped at it, of course, and we did we actually did assessments with him in the truck. So they kind of did like a working interview to make sure he could actually drive the box truck.
Yeah.
And which was really brave of them. And I was not in the truck. But and he was successful, and he's still working with them today. They love having him, and we're just thankful for employers even like Abe and Gone for Good for giving individuals a chance. And it's pretty unheard of that like we would have individuals that could drive.
Yeah.
So I think it's really impressive that we were able to place him in a position like that.
I was going to ask, so had he done any driving for any organization or company before that?
He had not.
So
no.
That's a big step for an
Yeah.
employer and for the individual there.
Yeah, it is. They gave him a big chance, definitely.
Yeah.
And getting, it's a box truck. Like you don't have to have a CDL, but I mean, I wouldn't want to drive
The
it downtown
dimensions are pretty.
Birmingham.
Yeah, exactly. Like the turns, you have to take pretty wide turns.
Yeah.
And so, how long has that individual been working with Gone for Good?
Oh gosh, maybe 3 years, 4 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
And loving it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. I'm like, yeah, we have a driver,
Yeah, well, it's such a big difference from being in a warehouse, and it sounded like he wasn't extremely happy in that warehouse.
Yeah.
Maybe it was indoors, kind of he couldn't get out and see the sun,
Yeah.
and he wanted to be more out and about in the greater community, not stuck
Absolutely.
at one location. So he knew he wanted to travel, had the opportunity through Gone Through Good and United Ability to do that. And Abe, we'll give a shout out to Abe. Thanks for taking on that. And but I can see how it would be kind of nerve-wracking for the individual and also the employer, saying this is something new, or just like with any student driver, any new driver or going to like a bigger, if you go from a Camry up to a SUV,
Yeah.
there's some learning that has
Yeah.
to take place there.
Yeah.
What did that process look like? How long was that individual in training?
I don't know.
I'm
how
putting you on the
long-
spot. Abe, that would be a question for you.
I don't know how long he was in training because that was definitely all Abe and Ted. We did not get in the truck with him. So our job coaches do have limitations and we were not able to job coach him on how to drive a box truck. But they really just took ownership of it. And I think the great thing about Abe is that he's always willing to give people a chance. So previously, before we were able to successfully place someone in a driver position, we probably had 2 or 3 other clients who came through to interview for that driver position. And it did not work out. So, just him being willing to put somebody in a truck and let them try, I think is just a beautiful thing. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and I love these success stories are different in the way that one is right out of the education system, loves her job. The other one had a job and was looking for something different, reopened the case with United Ability. And the employer, having gone through a few individuals that may have been drivers and not having an experience where that worked out, taking another chance and coming back to the board and saying, okay, let's try and figure this out.
Yes, it's great.
So all of these services are available through United Ability. They sound great. How do I get them?
Yes.
How do I start enrolling in these things?
Sure. So typically all of our referrals come from the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services. So as long as someone qualifies for their services, they qualify for our employment services.
Okay.
We don't turn anyone away based off of their disability. So like I said, as long as they qualify for ADRS, they can come and be referred for us. So they would just need to let their VR counselor know that they would like to use United Ability as their supported employment provider, and then that counselor would send us a referral and we would get to work. We also take referrals from the Department of Mental Health. We are a CWP provider. So if someone is on the new CWP waiver or the ID LAH waivers, they can request employment services through their support coordinator, and we can receive referrals that way as well.
Gotcha. So the first thing, if you are an individual and you're looking for employment services, you have to make sure that you're kind of in the system.
Yes.
That you, that you may be receiving some additional services in high school. You're probably in the system. You may have a counselor.
Yeah.
But if you're a parent and you have a child that's maybe 10 years old and you're thinking for their future, I always tell individuals and families, like, the first step is you have to make sure you're kind of in the system.
Yeah.
You have to go through DMH, ADRS. You got to get your VR counselor.
Yeah.
One of the most important relationships in that whole process is building your relationship with your case manager or
Yes.
counselor, direct support
Absolutely.
individual. But once you are receiving services, you can say to ADRS or DMH, I live close to United Ability. I have a relationship with them. I'm in the Birmingham greater area. I would like to work with them. And they can send that referral over, and then you guys would go ahead and contact that individual.
That's right. Yep.
What does that intake look like for, let's say I called United Ability today. Hey, I'm receiving services. My VR counselor says that I can receive employment services through United Ability. Katie, what do I need to do next?
Yeah, so once we receive the referral from ADRS, we get in contact with that individual, and our personal here at United Ability, our policy is that we would finish an intake and our situational assessments within the first 30 days. So typically individuals come here for an intake, but we can meet people out in the community as well. We can meet at a library or a Starbucks, whatever's convenient, because a big barrier is transportation. So if someone is going to struggle to get here, we meet them where they are. And then from there, it's a basic intake. I mean, it's the HIPAA paperwork and, signing off on some handbooks and things, and getting to know them a little better. We want to know what they're interested in, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. And from there, we would do situational assessments. So we go out into the community at 2 different businesses, and we get them to just do some job tasks to see what they're good at and what they're not good at. And typically, I like to take individuals to something they may be interested in, and then maybe something they said they weren't interested in.
Okay.
Because I'm like, you know what? If you really hate it, we never have to do it again.
Yeah.
But sometimes they may think that they wouldn't like it, but they've never actually done it.
Or somebody said, told them you wouldn't be good
exactly.
at that. Stay away from that.
Right, exactly. So we want to try out every avenue, and that way we can really narrow down from there where we are going to start applying for jobs, what employers we're going to go talk to, and then prepare for interviews.
So if calling up United Ability, you need to give them a good month to really get to know them and for them to get to know you. It's not like you're looking for a job, you need a job tomorrow, going to call United Ability.
Yeah, it doesn't happen fast.
Yeah. So you need to plan that in advance. So just think about that.
And for anybody, job searching is hard. Yeah. It's like a job in its own.
Stressful. I tell you what, you fill it, you make a resume, then you make a cover letter, then you go to the employer's website, they make you enter all the same information, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed out just from this.
Yeah, it's like a job on its own, and you always get more no's than yeses. So, you have to be patient with your employment specialist. They are doing everything that they can to help you get a job. So, nothing really happens fast. Like some individuals, we help them and they may get a job in 2 months. And then some, it may take 6 months. So it just depends on the person and what they're looking for and who's hiring.
As an employer, I almost think of it, I know you're talking about it's a full-time job to try and gain employment. And there is an industry out there where it's like headhunters, where they help individuals get jobs at corporations. And this seems like, but in that process, the employer will pay that headhunter as long as the candidate stays there for a year or what have you. So that's a whole industry. As an employer, I see this as kind of like a free headhunting service.
Essentially, it is.
Yeah. And you guys are doing all of the work and helping the individuals. And as the employer, I receive all the benefits of it.
Yeah, there's no risk to the employer. They get a great employee. They get someone free of charge to help train that employee. And then we check in to make sure they retain that employee. So it is a free service to employers and to individuals.
I think any organization or company out there, whether they're huge national chain or they're local, is really doing a disservice to the organization if they're not looking into these services.
I agree.
Yeah. What about for individuals that have more significant disabilities? And a lot of times this will be the parent that is more involved. And I've heard struggles from parents that their son or daughter is really struggling to find gainful employment in the community. What would you say to them? And then also, what would you say to employers?
Yeah, and we serve individuals, like I said, with a very wide range of abilities. So we do see individuals with more significant disabilities, and it can be difficult, for an employer to be accepting. So what we do is we can go into an employer and talk to them about job carving or customized employment. So if this individual has a very specific skill set, we may go to some of our bigger employer partners who we know are already open and willing, and we'll talk to them about the individual. We'll talk to them about if there's an option to create a position, and a lot of times employers are open to that.
Okay.
So if they have positions where individuals who are being paid more and are doing kind of like some menial desk work or filing, that's just one example, but maybe we could take some of those tasks off of some of their executive team and give it to someone almost like an assistant, so the other members of the team can be more productive. So that's an option of some job carving that we could do. We actually have done customized employment. A great example of that is at Royal Cup. So we had 2 individuals who did some interning at Royal Cup, I think 2 years ago.
Royal Cup is the coffee?
Yes, Royal Cup Coffee and Tea. And they were actually through Project Search, and those individuals just were very impressive to Royal Cup. The staff there loved them. They had very specific skills that they needed. And so actually after the pandemic, Royal Cup called us and said, hey, we really loved those 2 guys. Like, can we create something for them? And we completely job carved for them. It's an individual position for these 2 people, and they're still working there.
I've never heard that term before, job carving. And so I would say to parents, if you're thinking about that and your son or daughter needs more support and may have a more specific job, really hone in on what, and for anybody that's helping them, really hone in on what they're really good at, and think about it of having a great relationship with the employer to the point that the employer is willing to create a new position,
right?
And kind of tackle it that way.
Yes, and typically it's going to be larger employers that can afford to create a position. So, we've done it at Royal Cup Coffee and Tea. We've done it at Ross Bridge. Any employer who is just willing to carve something out for someone to give them a chance, but they're still doing a job that needs to be done.
Yeah.
We're just creating a new job description for them.
And as you mentioned, it kind of relieves some of the more executive roles.
Absolutely.
So, hey, if you think it's a pain to get up and go shred these papers all day, those types of things, we can create a new position, whatever that is. But I think stressing for the parents is focus on what your son or daughter is really good at and what they do, and narrow that down so you can help communicate that to the employer. And make it very clear for them. And even coming in, parents will probably be involved with United Ability during some of this if their son or daughter needs significant help there. So you have a number of employee partners that United Ability works with.
We do. About
how many?
Wow, I think there's like 60 listed on our website, but there's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
We probably need to update the website.
Yeah. I've went through and counted. I came to 59. I might have miscounted one. So it was like right in that ballpark.
I would say, I don't know.
Closer to 100 maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And we're constantly making new relationships. I love, my favorite part of my job, I love meeting new employers and touring employers. So I'm a very visual person. So I can see the jobs, and I can also pick jobs out that maybe they need done. They just didn't know yet that they needed them done.
I imagine you going through the workplace and like your creative energy just being like, that's a position. Like I know exactly who would want to do that. And you're just in that moment.
Oh yeah. It's really fun. And it's fun to meet with employers and talk to them and, figure out what are their hiring needs, because I guarantee you we can find some individuals to fill those needs.
And also you mentioned that a lot of times you can go through the workplace and see something that the employer can't. And it's just a different aspect. It's the same thing of having everybody come to the same table. And if you have people with all different experiences come there, you're going to come out with something that is truly unique. So, from an employer standpoint, if you feel like you're a little bit stagnant, you should be getting these services just as like, hiring out somebody to come in and kind of tell you how to run your business a little bit. So we have a number of employers. Is there a couple that you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, so, we have our Hiring Expo coming up next week. We're really excited this year because we have even more employers that have committed, some of those being Children's of Alabama, Coca-Cola, Milo's Tea, Hibbett Distribution Center,
Yeah.
one of our favorites, of course. We love Hibbett. There's so many more that, UAB is going to be there, Cooper Green, Buffalo Rock. So
I'm unfamiliar with Buffalo Rock. What is Buffalo Rock?
Oh, it's Pepsi. I thought you were joking for a second. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. It sounds like an apparel company or something.
No, Buffalo Rock. So they're just right down the road from here, and it's Pepsi products.
Okay, I gotcha.
They make Pepsi products, yeah.
So while we're talking about the expo, let's get that out there for anybody watching. So that is next week.
Yes.
Give us the date, time, location, and if I need to register.
Yes. So you don't need to register. It is October 13th from 2 to 4. It is at our Link Point Adult Services Building, which is at 101 Oslo Circle. And we will have, there's going to be signage out front for people to come through. We have a bus stop really close to our campus, so if you ride the bus, you can ride it right here to the expo. And we want people who it's open to the public. We want to encourage individuals with disabilities who may be looking for a job to come and bring their resume, dress for success. Some of these employers are going to be accepting applications on the spot. They may want to interview you on the spot. So, it's just a great way for us, again, for a second year to partner with ADRS and to get individuals with disabilities in front of employers who are open and willing and want to hire and a diverse workforce.
Yeah, so kind of for anybody or any families looking for employment, what United Ability has done is they've brought employers on location here to the campus. There are many transportation options. If you take the bus routes through Birmingham, come out here. There's no excuse that you cannot get out here. But they're taking employers that are actively seeking to hire and putting them in a huge room.
Yeah.
And then they're inviting the community, anyone that's seeking employment, to come in and speak with these employers. It's basically setting up an interview for you.
Yeah.
But you can interview with 10, 15,
Sure.
20 businesses, organizations at the same time.
Right.
It's like speed dating, but for speed hiring.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And so last year, you guys had a great success, and you actually had individuals get hired.
We did.
From this event.
Yes. We had over 45 individuals either receive an interview or become employed from this event. And I would love to see that number doubled. So we had over 200 people come to the event last year. We had 18 employers here last year. This year we have 30 employers committed right now. And the options are endless of how many people can show up.
You guys are going to be overflowing out of that room.
I hope so.
Yeah, it was pretty packed last year, and you guys are just getting
It
bigger.
was. Yeah, I hope so. I want to. My goal is to just outgrow our building. I want to just make it bigger and bigger every year.
You guys are gonna have to get a bigger building. Yeah, you're gonna have to have a huge tent
David's
outside.
Sweating. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so important for the community to realize the opportunity that next week, October 13th, from 2 to 4, has. Especially now, would you even say individuals that are in high school come to this?
If they are looking for a job, that's what this event is for. So if they're looking to become employed, yes, they should come. If they're looking to talk to specific employers, whoever, I would say come. It's a great networking opportunity. It's a great way to get your name out there, talk face to face with some employers that have open positions right now. They're looking for workers.
Yeah.
So, come out here and see if there's something for you. And I'm sure that there is. We have a very diverse group of employers coming.
And even if you don't, you don't get hired that day, which would be awesome, but isn't going to happen for everybody.
Sure.
The experience of doing that, even if you're not at, let's say you're 14 and you just want to gain experience, you want to get more confident with speaking with employers.
Yeah.
This is a perfect way to do that.
It is.
What does that process look like for you? How are you, how do you conduct yourself in that? What would you say some encouraging words to individuals that are coming and that may be a little bit nervous?
Yeah.
I'm nervous that I'm not going to do it right. I'm not going to dress right. What would you say to some individuals like that?
I would just say that it's okay to be nervous. We're all human. I'm going to be nervous the day of too.
Yeah.
But bring your resume, dress the best that you can, and the employers that we have handpicked to be here are open, and they are the leaders in our community and committed to hiring a diverse workforce.
And so they've worked with United Ability before. They probably
Yes.
have a few individuals within the organization already.
Absolutely.
So the employers know what this is all about. It's not like they're coming in like, oh, I'm not, I don't know why we're here. So
Yeah.
they're actively looking for individuals from this community.
Yes.
If you are looking for a job, October 13th, next week, is that a Wednesday?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday, next week, 2 to 4. We're going to be there rebroadcasting, but if you guys are watching this and you're looking for a job, you're not doing it right. You need to be there in person talking to these
Yes,
employers.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned I don't have to register.
No.
I can just show up.
Just show up. We'll have some sign-in tables when you first come in. You'll sign in and then go talk to the employers.
Bring your resume, bring a folder, maybe a binder.
Yes.
Be ready to put out your hand and shake some hands.
And if you need assistance the day of, there will be ASL interpreters here. And we will also have staff here. So if someone does need assistance walking through, talking with employers, we will have staff here to assist with that.
Would that be an example of, hey, I'm here, I showed up, I'm extremely nervous. Can I have somebody help me go through this process?
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So even if you feel like you're going to be overwhelmed, maybe you get into the front door and then, you feel like you're there, but something's holding you back and you can't quite break through that barrier and walk and talk to someone, just reach out to the United Ability staff members.
Yeah.
They'll get you connected with somebody here on location that will walk you through the process and be with you side by side as they do, kind of holding hands through this process of employment, 14 all the way up through 90.
Absolutely. If you want to work, come to us.
Just a quick thing here. Now, they may be saying this, do these services cost anything to the employer? I mean, not to the employer, to the individual.
No, they do not. So, like I said earlier, all of our referrals come through the state, so ADRS or DMH, and they are free for any individual who needs them.
I always shy away from the word free because there is money spent there, but it is
Sure.
no cost to the consumer.
Yes, no cost to the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't worry about anything like that. All right. So we mentioned what we should bring to the expo. Kind of closing remarks. Is there anything that we haven't talked about, whether that's employment, whether it's the expo, that you think individuals or their families could really benefit from hearing?
Yeah, I think, I just really want to encourage people to come next week to the expo. If people are looking for work, this is a great opportunity. I mean, we are putting employers out there for you. All you have to do is show up. And if you're nervous, like you said, we will guide someone through it. We have so many resources that are going to be here to assist people. And also to employers, we want to encourage and empower them to be open to hiring. So if they have questions about hiring individuals with disabilities, or if they would like to receive disability etiquette and awareness training, we would love for them to reach out to us for that as well.
That's a really good opener for employers. Kind of get your foot in the door and see if they're interested is that training to start off.
Absolutely.
Thursday, October 13th, 2 to 4. Let's pack this place. We will be recording live, streaming live, but you need to be here in person to get that one-on-one connection. If you're looking for a job, this is a great opportunity to get hired on the spot or set up an interview for later in the week, later in the month. Mrs. Dumais, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
And Clifton, go ahead and take us out, and we'll wave at the same time. See you guys next time. And we'll just wait a few seconds there.